Morning, guys. We're doing a little car and coffee situation here. It's car and decaf with me. I keep my decaf in the mornings. I like to taste the coffee, but I try to regulate or watch my caffeine intake. So I do decaf. Love the flavor, all that type of stuff. So something I want to talk about, Lost and Found Energy, some of the best tasting energy drinks you're ever going to get your hands on. But kind of an interesting thing that came up this morning was the discussion of beverage companies and raising capital. Now the interesting part about all of that is Lost and Found Energy, we've never raised capital. Not once. For a few reasons. But when I look into the market and I'm constantly seeing beverage companies go out and raise money, and they're doing it and they're raising this money, and it's almost always, with few exception, they're running a negative. Like, they're going to get to the end of the year and they're going to be negative $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, whatever it may be, because they're paying for every square inch they get. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with raising capital. Don't get me wrong on that. There's definitely a time and a place for it, and there is a need for it. And at some point, likely, Lost and Found Energy will raise. But the right situation has to come around for that. And for a lot of these brands, the reason they're going to zero after raising $20+ million is because they never built a brand identity. They never took the time to build anything. So the only brand identity they have is some little cute slogan and a label, essentially. And they take that and they just spend and spend and spend, and they're trying to force it into the market, which is, honestly, at this point, a terrible idea. Now, that could have worked at some point for sure, but you have so many brands out there, and you have guys, Monster, Red Bull, that are deeply rooted in energy drinks. When you're spending for every inch, right, you're competing with guys that are, one, building brand identities, but also guys that are just ingrained in American society and just society in general. So, you're forcing something that people are somewhat numb to. And without that brand identity, you're burning cash. Your revenue will continue to go up because you're spending for every inch. So you are going to see revenue, which gives you this false sense of security because you're like, well, we're growing our revenue and yada, yada, yada. But as soon as that spend slows, as soon as that spend stops, you're going to end up much like many beverage businesses. There's a graveyard of them. You're going to be one of those. And it's just kind of a putting the cart before the horse type of thing. Like, I'll use Ghost as a good example. They had built a brand identity for years on the supplement side, but they built an identity, right? And they did a great job of that. Dan, Ryan, they killed it with that. And when they finally raised from the Anheuser Group, that was a great strategic move because they had an identity. They had plenty of people that were aware of them. So that add-on of capital or distribution was perfect. That's how it's done. Like, that's how you get it done, which then later led to them seeing an exit at, $1 billion+. Incredible. And congrats to them because well played. It's exactly how you should do it. The identity has to come first. Otherwise, you're paying for every inch, and at some point, you're going to be diluted to nothing. As an owner, being diluted to nothing is not exactly where you want to be, but you're spending. You're never going to get out of that spend without an identity, right? So on Lost and Found Energy side, we haven't raised at this point, and not saying that I want it again at some point. Hell, it might even come sooner than expected, but raising has to come after that identity, so you have some reason for a customer to pull it from the shelf without spending $1 to get it. And that's really where everybody that does this is messing it up. So when we go out and we've spent, the last year, I've spent almost $0 in marketing, like almost nothing. And when I say almost, I mean the business will do 7 figures plus, and we spent in total sub $10,000 in marketing for the whole year. And it's probably less. I mean, it might be $5,000, $6,000. And that's the reality of it. That's the reason we can hit these numbers, is because we've built this community that's just all in on lost and found energy. And, taking that community and transitioning from, TikTok on over to the website, lostandfoundenergy.com, and seeing people totally fine with that transition, just willing to be there for the business and continuing to be there, support it, and make sure that it's thriving. That's the community that we're building, and that's the community that we're seeing succeed. And it's that community that allows you to really lower your spend, when you're trying to be in the broad market. So raising capital is not going to fix any of that. So when we go out, and let's say we do raise capital, we're going to have to spend a lot less capital to get the same returns that we're seeing, similar to, the Amazon position. You see guys spending on ads all the time, and Amazon, just to be clear, has a massive fee that they charge in beverage, massive fee. So you go in, you're getting hit with this fee. You don't really have that many dollars to spend. And if you're spending it in their marketing and then you're still not seeing yourself really be a top player, that's because every inch of sales is from that spend, and you will be negative. So, the beverage category is notorious for this. This happens constantly. Guys run out, spend or raise capital, thinking they're going to make it big in beverage. And truly, the answer to all of it is still the same. Still exactly the same as it was when Ghost did it, and some of these others have done it. You have to build a brand identity. Capital is not going to save you. And you're not going to build that brand identity by spending. Eventually, that spend is only going to hurt you, and that's how you run to zero. So, I don't know. It was something that came up this morning, and it was, something that we discuss often. And I'm curious to see what happens with some of these recent ones that I've heard of. And, it is what it is. All I know is Lost and Found Energy, we've built something special here. We've continued to push this brand forward and do it in a way that I think it could take much longer, but overall, much healthier. Being in a profitable position in beverage is, oddly enough, very unique. But also, although it may take longer, you're going to have more substance. So when we start doing distribution at a heavier level and we start seeing it hit shelves, we know it'll turn. The brand is there. The demand for it is there. And that's really, really what we're building. So we're trying to make sure that we don't put the cart before the horse. There's no reason to raise capital if you don't have an identity. And that's really what we're all about, and what we're doing and what we're working on. So I don't know, a little bit of a rant there, explaining this raising capital thing in beverage and some of the things that I see, in my opinion, in it. Could be wrong, could totally be wrong, but I guess we'll find out, and that's part of the game, right? So anyways, guys, I got to get to the office. We're pulling in here in a minute and going to finish enjoying this decaf. You guys have a good day, and let's get after it, huh? Make sure you guys are heading to lostandfoundenergy.com. Make sure you get signed up. Make sure you get ready to go. Launch of that is coming very soon, and we, of course, cannot wait. So you guys have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one. Cars and Decaf. Let's go.